Hi, everyone. Do you hear me well, Peter? Everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So once again, hi, everyone. My name is Lillian. I'm with GMDH Streamline. Welcome to another webinar brought to you by a series of our experts, and today our lovely customer, Peter. The topic of today's discussion is how to really use QuickBooks in full view with Streamline as a true MRP tool, and it would be presented to you by Peter Butcher, Operations and IT Consultant at SSV Works. He's supply chain expert with more than 20 years of experience in public and private sector, working in retail, wholesale, technology, and manufacturing verticals. So feel free to jump in with the questions. He is here for your use right now. Peter, please go ahead.
Okay, I guess that's my turn, huh?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for spending the time. I, for one, am extremely excited to show you this because SSV Works just recently came into this. We've only been a customer with Streamline for a little, around a year, and I'm going to try and run through this as it worked for us. We were in a very bad place using QuickBooks. The owners of the company had been trying to actually replace QuickBooks for many years with little success. They've tried complete ERP packages. They tried bolt-on MRP packages or ERP packages to keep QuickBooks working as an accounting package, but running your whole shop floor inventory control, order processing through a different system, and you're just constantly moving data back and forth. And honestly, there was very little success there. About a year ago, we came across Streamline and found that it worked very well, providing an MRP package, giving you full view or full visibility of your business. If you're, like we were, working in QuickBooks, you're growing your business, and if you're in a manufacturing or fast-paced distribution, QuickBooks is a great accounting package. It does have a hard time keeping up on the manufacturing and the distribution side of things. Keep in mind, it was designed for small contractors at first, so they could do things automatically, and if they got a job, they could hit order and it would just order all their supplies. Well, that's not real world for manufacturing. They've made some improvements, but they still do fall short. Forecasting your products. QuickBooks, you can use things like ROP or reorder point, and you have min-max settings, so you can kind of keep a grasp on there. But as your company grows, well, hopefully it's growing, you have to deal with these things, and that's just limiting trying to chase from a bottom-up view of where your purchasing is and where your shipments are going to be able to be. You can't keep that up for very long. The only purchasing support that QuickBooks gives you is that reorder point. This is where we want to introduce to you Streamline, and where it takes over where QuickBooks falls a little bit short. The first thing, you start by forecasting your products at the parent level. You can do this by categories, you can do it by item level, and they give you some really good, if you're looking at my screen now, this is just a simple screen to start with this. It shows you in gray down here, you're actually looking at actual sales that were brought in from QuickBooks. That is your sales on this given item. The blue line we're looking at is actually how Streamline's algorithms would have forecasted your product based on your sales. The red we're looking at out here is going out into the future to show you what it's going to do for the next period of time. And this is all flexible. You set this up. You could set this up for a couple weeks in advance. You could set it up for 52 weeks in advance. You can actually look at this in monthly buckets or weekly buckets. The example we're using today is actually monthly buckets. I happen to run everything using weekly because I need a little more granular. But as I go through this and show you some of the screens, I think you'll see that it does absolutely work. The different things you can do is once you have seasonal history brought into Streamline, you can change, say you don't want to use a seasonal trend, you could change it to just show a consistent level. Now, in my opinion, this is what would be equivalent of what QuickBooks does with a min-max. When you get to a point, you order stuff and you go back and forth like that. This gives you the actual ability to do seasonal trends and give you the ability to follow your trends based on your seasonality over your previous periods. And again, that could be a year, 2 years, or further if you choose to bring all that information in. The key to all of this is if you're paying attention and you're purchasing correctly, you have the right inventory at the right time, which means reduced inventory. And that is really what it's about for most small companies. So this is a very powerful tool that we're going to sit here and play with for a little bit. If you're looking at the screen now, the top sections in yellow, you'll see them, I'm scrolling them back and forth. You're actually looking at your actual sales. These are the periods like in this test database, if you will. We're looking at 2017 all the way through 2018, and 2019 would be our live period. This is fine. This is where these the statistical forecast is placed down here. This represents, actually, I don't know if you can see it on your screens, this is blue. This represents the blue lines down here that is visible on the chart. You get out into the future periods out here, and you're actually seeing what Streamline would be forecasting going forward. Now, this is one product. This happens to be a parent product, and we can actually take this and look at all products for the entire company or any product. You can click and modify on each one as you choose, okay? Now, you can see up here there's a little hand notation. That's because I changed the model being used to forecast this from just your basic inherited, what Streamline figures is best. I changed it to be a specific model, and the system tells you that. So if I go back to a constant model, you get that, and it tells me I've modified it. We have a couple products that are OEM. We can actually choose to do a pre-order. We don't want to forecast for them. We only buy products for certain customers, like our OEMs, once they place orders with us. So we can actually put that on there, and Streamline will show you how it's going to affect your forecast and how it's going to affect your inventory. Okay, so let me put this back. Now, every single thing you're doing, you can actually override. For instance, let's say I wanted to put in here for starting January, my forecast is 28 based on the Streamline algorithm. I want to put in here that we're going to see 1,000, okay? And I can put that there, and you'll see it instantly change the chart. Oh, but what I really meant to do was put in 1,000 a month going forward, so I can just come in here to the system and say, I want to see this go forth. We're going to run specials, or we know this is going to be the new hot pet rock, whatever it is, and now we have 1,000 forecast every month going forward throughout our horizon, so to speak. Now, you can see down here, you have all the green area. This is actually showing you how Streamline is going to handle your inventory purchasing, your dollars that you're spending on a daily basis, okay? You're going to ascertain 1,000 a month, but you're going to do it with the minimal projected inventory possible. And if you have a high inventory, it's really nice. Streamline will show you how it's going to drive the inventory down on any given item, okay? And you can look at this based on numbers, or you can switch over to see revenue to see actually based on dollars, and all the numbers will switch and you can see that. So this is the actual charts that you're using. Now, there are a few things over here for, inventory. You can set up safety stocks and pricing and display quantities, things that we'll talk about in detail in a bit. But the key product we can, once we forecast everything, and by the way, I should also show you, the forecast can be brought in and out of Streamline. We can take out of Streamline the information that it's imported from QuickBooks. So let's just say 2 years of sales history in a weekly bucket. In this case, it's a monthly bucket. We can pull that out into a spreadsheet just by going over here and going into reports and looking at final forecast. This will show us our forecast for the items. These can automatically be brought out into Excel, and this is live. So now, if I was to change based on any algorithm you choose to run in Excel, you can manipulate the numbers going forward. So let's just say you know that you're going to be running a regional promotion in the southern states and you want to bump that area by, say, 50%. You can do that in Excel quickly and just basically save the file, and when you come back to Streamline, you can then re-import your changes, and if you happen to have changed the file name from the file created by Streamline, you can choose the file in your file directory and re-upload it, and it all pulls back your new forecast. Now, when you bring in your new forecast, go back into Streamline, it's going to show you your forecast in this forecast override column. And that now supersedes the forecast algorithm they had, and now you're forecasting based on what you have decided with your team that you want to buy for. So once you load in your forecast and you get to a point where everything's set to where you want it to be, you can then come over to the inventory planning field. Now, there's a lot of information that is utilized on this screen. Every part in QuickBooks can come in. You can even choose to bring in inactive items or not. In my world, I choose not to. You don't want to see those. We have enough stuff to deal with. You get full descriptions. Streamline gives you an item type, and that pretty much dictates whether it's a parent, an assembly that is used in another parent, being an intermediate, or if it's just a material that is pulled up into either an assembly or a finished goods, a parent item. It shows you your supplier. It brings in from QuickBooks your quantity on hand. Okay. It also brings in from QuickBooks your available on hand. Everybody that deals with QuickBooks knows the difference between those two. In QuickBooks, you have what is called a max build, or a quantity you can build. When you're in QuickBooks and you do an actual build or a work order, it'll tell you how many you can build. But each and every one of us that use QuickBooks know that you can only see one level of your bill of material hierarchy at a time. Okay? If you want to see if you can build a whole item, and say you have 3, 4, 5 levels in your bill of materials, you have to dance in and out of that build report constantly for each item all the way down to get to the bottom level to see if you can build that before you actually process anything and build it. One of the nice things you can do here is on any given item, you can hit under item type, it says it's a finished item. I'll show you one with a little more of a bill of materials here. This is a bill of materials, and you can see here, this is actually showing you that this part is an assembly, or in in Streamline's world, it's an intermediate item, meaning it goes into a parent item, but yet it also has parts that make up its own entity, or the intermediate product. So you're looking at a full line bill of materials, top to bottom, whether it's this one's 2 levels deep, Most of ours here at SSV Works are 5 or 6 levels deep, and you can see the entire thing at one time. Now, the max build quantity will actually, right now it is single level, but we're going to be moving it to show you if we look at it at a parent level, it will show you of that parent all the way through your entire bill of material structure, what you are able to build. Very much like QuickBooks shows you in a build at a single level, it'll tell you down there, based on these inventories, you can build 30. Well, this will tell you that based on every level of the bill of materials. So this is a very, very strong tool. Working through the screen right here, days of supply is just based on the sales that it's seen. It's telling you that the 3,601 will last you about 64 days. To ship, those are sales orders. Those would be things you'd be shipping out to your customers. In this example, we don't have any. To receive, those are purchase orders. Those pull out of Streamline, or excuse me, pull out of QuickBooks. They show here that this item has a purchase order for 1,000 that's set to arrive on March 2nd, 2019. Obviously, we're working in a historic period here for this demo. All of this is updated as you update QuickBooks and Streamline. It all comes in and deals with the new information on a daily basis. Your lead times. Now, QuickBooks doesn't really have lead times. It doesn't really have order cycles. It's lacking that part of a true purchasing or procurement system. It doesn't deal with MRP. Minimum lots. These are things that you set yourself in Streamline. It's very different than the minimums or maximums that is used in QuickBooks. These are actually kept outside separately in Streamline, and you use these and set them up. Again, you can change this to, if you wanted a 2,000 piece order, you can manage that here. Okay. Safety stock, display stock, these are also configurable items or quantities that you can actually control. In many businesses, there are different reasons for using the two differently, but basically they equate to the same thing, just to make sure that whatever you're forecasting, you can put a little extra on there to make sure you're ascertaining your customer satisfaction that you want to work with. Okay? It brings in the purchase price. It does know the gross margin and things like that. Now, current orders over in this section is telling you what we need to actually purchase. Okay? So this is telling you the quantity we need to buy based on the forecast we have running, pushing through the entire bill of materials, netting out the inventory at each level of the bill of materials. So if you have on-hand inventory at a parent, that's subtracted out of the need as it goes down to the intermediate assemblies. Those are subtracted out of the need down to the actual material part you need to purchase. It takes the inventory as it's on hand or on order coming in, and it subtracts all of that just like a true material requirements planning system would do, and gives you a net purchase. Now, this part's actually really nice. When you come further out here, this actually is, I have most of the stuff here set as 90 days, so it really is going out only 3 months. But you'll notice the green and red colors. Very simple. Green means, yeah, we're going to make that, we're going to ship it, it's not a problem. Red means there needs to be some interaction, so it's a visual focus for you to dig in and look at it and find out what needs to be done. Speed up a shipment, slow down a shipment, all of this stuff comes into play here. So as we play through this, what we can do is, this is obviously a very small database. We have 33 items. But when you're looking at a database of 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, and depending on what version of QuickBooks you're running, you can go much higher than that. Streamline allows you to set up key specific filters. So you can look at all items. I've set up here a filter you can see up in here. I have a filter just set up for this one parent item, this one. I want to see everything that pertains to that. So anything, I set up a filter basically with, where's my edit button? Here it is. Any item code that contains 1866, okay, it brings up a list so I can look at it. Doesn't matter whether it's a finished item or an intermediate item or a material. It's all here for me to look at, and I can click around it and play with it. So let's see. It's telling me already that I do need to do some purchasing. You can see out here under the quantity, these purchase flags right here. All these quantities need to be purchased based on the current forecast. Now, I can actually come out here and say, well, the forecast we know is very little. Let's see what that was. I can click on the item number, it goes right back out. And actually, I bumped the forecast to 1,000. Let's go ahead and make that 3,000 throughout the rest of the year. So now you can see it instantly went all the way through just because of the symbol I used there. If I wanted to change it back down from here going forward to say 2,500, or just that 1 month for 2,500, I guess that actually does take out the whole thing. 2,500 and boom. So we can create, you can see it graph right here on the screen, and behind the scenes, believe it or not, all this down here, if you wanted to look at the detail, is actually changing. And it's telling you what your inventory is almost on a day-to-day basis of how much you need to order based on your cycle times and your lead time settings. So now we'll go back over to the planning screen, and let's see. So purchasing here, we can actually choose, you can see the supplier, you can actually choose to do your purchasing based on a single supplier company-wide, or you could just go in and do it like this. Now, it actually has here, let's see, planned orders, okay? This right here represents all of these orders you see here, okay? And if I set up filters specifically for, actually, I'll do that right now because I like to. Let's set up a filter for 59004 supplier. So I can just come over here and say new filter, and I can say where supplier contain, I'm going to say this one equals, and we'll say 5400, excuse me, 59004, and now I have another filter for just that supplier. So now it's very easy to come up here and say planned orders, okay, and it will show me the orders it needs for this one. Now you see there's only 2 items here because it knows the third item, it's not requiring us to place a purchase order at this time. Now, with QuickBooks, this of course is a demo, but this create button you see down here, you can actually hit that. Actually, you could edit this. Let's just say we wanted to make this 100,000, okay? And you know what? For whatever reason, I only want to place one item at a time. So I changed this one item, which is 1866 MB OB oak brand, whatever that might be, to 100,000. Now, if I was to hit the create button, Streamline will actually create a purchase order within QuickBooks and confirm that it's done. So you go back over to QuickBooks and use QuickBooks to actually email it and send it. You know, all the things that QuickBooks is proficient at, you can utilize immediately, and it just created there for you. Okay, so I'll cancel out of this. And then this is, again, plain on the purchasing side. It's an extremely powerful tool. Now, in the manufacturing side, I've actually come over and created a filter here for just manufactured orders, and you can see there aren't any. However, if we actually change the settings, it's saying based on my on-hand inventory, which in a manufacturing environment, we have a lead time of 2 days. I'm just going to bump this up a little bit to force the settings, and I should be able to see, yeah, so we start creating manufactured orders based on 30-day lead time. So these are the quantities it's wanting us to manufacture. So for those of you that are going to use this as a full view MRP tool, you can start again by forecasting your items any way you choose, using Streamline's modeling algorithms or using your own via Excel. Whether you do it manually or you use some Excel method of forecasting, you can manipulate your history, bring it back in here, and know that Streamline's going to put it through your bill of materials, your on-hand inventory, and create demand, whether it be manufactured demand or a purchase demand, and give you the individual steps you need to work on. You can actually set these up and you can work through here until they're done. And so this is a purchasing environment. I can go purchase all of this and my purchasing's done for today. And then we come back and look at it the next time we go through. The end result of all of this, the goal is for customer satisfaction. You want to keep your customer service levels very high on that, we'll call it a bell curve. You want to be at the 95 to 98% customer service levels. Before using Streamline, we'll just say about 95% of our orders were over 3 months old. After using Streamline for approximately 6 months, in other words, 2 cycle times through our product manufacturing cycle, which is a lot of it, like most companies, does have a long lead time out of other countries. We were able to bring that down to about a 5% backorder rate, which was extremely beneficial when we talk about ROI, reduced inventory, inventory turn. It just gave us the means to put the money into product development instead of bulking up on inventory, trying to manage it without the full view or the MRP tool that we wanted to use. So hopefully I've shown a little bit about what the software can do. I'm sure there is many, many questions of what the software can do for you. So I know that I went through some things very, very quickly. But hopefully there's been some questions or something that come up, so I can stop and take a few questions and look at that. Lillian?
Yep. So far, we don't have any questions yet. Okay. But while we're waiting for everybody to ask something, let's go back to the introduction to the Streamline. How long did it take you particularly to connect to Streamline and start using it as expert as you are now?
Well, that's actually a good question. We, when we originally did it, we asked, Streamline is offered actually no charge, free, for a small demo version. We asked for that. We had it for, if I recall, you do that for about 2-3 weeks. We asked for a month, and we did that. And from that, we walked right into loading it up, and we were using it in our second month 100%. And of course, the first month when you're demoing software, we used it a couple times. We looked at it here and there, and when we really found out that it does drive the numbers the way we needed to see them, it was an easy decision to make and actually decide we were going to sign up, implement it, and move forward with it.
Thanks, Peter. It was very pleasant to hear, actually. Okay, guys, we're waiting for your activity, so feel free to use chat. Meanwhile, I will keep interviewing Peter so he doesn't get bored.
Okay, well, I can go through and show quite a few more things, like in the software, one of the things you're seeing is you see the green lines that we're looking at. That is actually your projected inventory. If everything in a real world happened perfectly, this is where things would fall. But we all know it doesn't. We're never real world. Things always happen. This vendor back orders, or they ship you something that didn't QC right. There are always issues. That causes huge ripples in any manufacturing, distribution, supply chain. The smoother you're able to plan your full horizon out through your entire bill of materials, the ripples that do happen or the issues that do come up are much easier to smooth out because you're able to get on it, see exactly what the impact is, move a few things around, and boom, you have a real story you can tell your customers of when this item will be available, and go from there. You're looking at here the forecast. You see the, we'll call it the pink shaded area that's following this around. That's actually a calculated safety stock that we're dealing with, because the system is, based on the settings, it's told to keep a 98, actually, I should probably check that. In this system, let's see where the settings say we're actually keeping a, 98%, which is the default in Streamline, because they hold this to very high standards, a 98% customer satisfaction. So if you don't change that or don't add more safety stock to it, it's going to calculate based off of the historic numbers that it sees from QuickBooks and calculate what kind of safety stock it wants to see to make sure you can ascertain a 98% customer service level. And then with that, you're seeing the inventory as it wants to see, like here it's actually telling us to projected inventory is 85 with a safety stock of 5. And then by the time we get more inventory in, we've dropped all the way down to an inventory level of 5, which is our safety stock value, and then jumping back up to 42 to manage the next period. Now, this is great to see on a screen like this, but if you really want to get into the detail of what's going on, let's take a look at, I showed you the bill of material screen and how convenient it is here to see all the items. And by the way, the on-hands, the available quantities that are in QuickBooks are all coming to this screen shortly. So you'll be able to see this here. And in the screen, you'll be able to see, just like QuickBooks shows you on a single level build, how many you can build, Streamline will be able to show you based on a full bill of material structure, no matter how many levels deep, how many you can build. So you can make quick, real-time decisions for your customers, for your shop floor, your plant, whatever you need to do. You know whether you can or can't do something. Now, full MRP blown out. Let's see what, we'll just look at, this guy looks like our busiest item with 15,000 needing to order. We're going to look at this item, and we're going to go look at the detail behind it. Now, this screen, if you've used an MRP system before, you'll be able to follow it. But it's really very intuitive if you just follow the bouncing ball, okay? It's down here you have projected inventory, and here we have planned orders. So we're just going to say this 24,000 right here. You notice I clicked on that, and out here you see 24,408 be highlighted. Well, technically, this is the period Streamline wants you to order it, but this is when it's coming into stock. That's your 90-day, in this case, I have it set up for a 90-day lead time. The next order goes here, and it says you're going to want that out there. So you can follow this in and out and see what your projected inventory is going to be and where your shortfalls are. It also takes up, you can actually click on the manufacturer details, which will show you that the demand is coming from this item, which is 12,600 on January 2nd, and this item, which is 31,000 also on January 2nd, for a total of, those two add for 43,600, and they actually spread out, as you can see, over the next few periods. This is how Streamline manages the inventory on a small incremental daily bucket in and out as you're working it versus the monthly forecast that this particular system is set up with. So you can actually see as your inventory is coming in where your inventory is going to end up all the way down. It's telling us to meet the forecast at a higher level, we need to make these orders down here, and when they're going to come into stock, and this goes out as far as your MRP horizon goes out, and you can keep going and going and going. And we all know we run our businesses with customer service in mind, but at the same time, the customers are almost the worst aspect of the business because they never pay attention to our forecasts. And that always becomes an issue. And that's why we carry a safety stock, and that's why the further out you can plan with your suppliers, if you can give your suppliers blanket orders based on the forecast that you have, so they're set up in their environment, when your customers, let's say, don't meet their sales, you can slow down your purchasing. When your customers supersede their sales greatly, it's much easier to pull up a planned supply chain than it is to go out and say, oh crap, I ran out of my min-max inventory, now I got to go place a new min-max, and hit your vendor with just a cold order. So it really helps you smooth out the ripples, and every item, whether it be finished, intermediate, and assembly, or actually just a raw material, this picture is provided for you throughout the entire Streamline system. So we'll go look at an intermediate, oh, excuse me, wrong button. An intermediate, click on it, button, and you can see how the numbers change. These all tie into the settings you control either by supplier, by category, by individual items. You can control your settings on how to purchase and how to run your manufacturing facility. We go back to the actual demand forecasting screen, and believe it or not, I hit a lot of things off of this before I turned it on. This might interest a few, but let's, you can have overstock, understocks. So as I showed you in the inventory planning screens, when we got out here, you were looking at demand forecast. The green is I can meet that. The red is I can't meet that. Well, same thing when you're looking at the demand forecasting screen. It'll show you what you're in jeopardy of meeting and what you're in jeopardy of missing. Okay. Obviously, this is an old database with lots of, we'll call them opportunities to get involved and fix it so you can ship these products. Okay. You can also show categories. Now in this particular demo, we actually have things broken out in multiple ways. So we have the categories are set up. This is by choice. You can do this in QuickBooks by, let's see, we have food and beverages, we have consumer goods, and we have finished goods for the same. So all of your items can break down this way and show all of your individual items, and you can actually manipulate things based on these categories. Because where I hit things over here as simply as doing this, over in the inventory planning screen, you can actually choose to show and hide columns. For instance, let's see, ordering plan. I have that turned off. I'll turn that on. Projected inventory levels, I'll turn that on. We'll start with those. And then I can scroll over to the right. And now you see this has changed entirely. here's an entire ordering plan for the entire year of 2019 based on how we have our MRP horizon set. Now I know exactly where I'm going to be placing my orders on this item for every item, or I can roll this up to a supplier. This out here is the actual forecast, okay? And then this out here also shows you your projected inventory levels. So you can see the picture of your operation going out as far as you want and as detailed as you want. And again, there's a lot of things you want to see sometimes. You don't want to see all the time because you have to, there's only so much room on a screen that you kind of want to bring it down to a workable level so you're getting the important information. Now, for your executives, you actually have, they do a few, they do have their reports system out here. You can do many different reports, projected revenue, sales prices, inventory, write-offs. You do stock outs, stock on hand, stock out days. There's a lot of information, but I always like to look at the dashboard. Now, the dashboard, believe it or not, in this demo is not very powerful, but in our environment, we've been using it for coming up on, well, about 10 months now, and this is live, so you can actually see what your inventory value is, and you can set the matrix on where the KPI value is driven from, whether it's current day or a specific period, to make this more meaningful for your operation. So your expected overstock, your expected stock out. These are very important things to know when you get into planning your business. If the executive or the owner, let's say, wants to look and say, why am I looking at stock outs? How do we fix this? This is where he'd be able to do that once he understands how the system's working, how the people are using it. These numbers will make sense and they can drive the system. Okay, so, and these are all things that you can bounce back and forth and utilize at any time, any period, on any part, at any level. Any questions that I want to drill down into on anything specific?
Yeah, there are a couple actually questions on the chat. So there were a question about dashboards and reports, which was just recently covered. Another one, does Streamline tells you the best forecast method fit for each product?
Actually, we'll go with the forecasting one first, okay? Basically, excuse me, this tab. On the forecasting, there is, where am I set? This one I'm manipulated, okay? This is inherent, automatic selection, okay? So what Streamline is doing is they're going through, they have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different algorithms that they run. Based on the sales history that you provide, which is done as soon as you connect to QuickBooks and update, it will determine what is best, okay, and go from there. Now, in our environment, as I said earlier, we were looking at 6 to 9 month back orders being very normal. So we didn't have, in this slide right here, you're looking at a very nice, this is monthly, you have sales every month, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but you have sales every period. Where I came from, we would go 4 or 5 months without a single shipment. So what do you get for your seasonality when you have 5 months of nothing? You get really nothing. So we had to change things up. Currently, right now, we are using Excel basically and our own algorithms to forecast, to smooth it out and give a nice smooth seasonal forecast because we're doing that predictive stuff ahead because we didn't have the history. But as you can see here, just by how this blue line sits over the gray line, their standard model is adapting very well to the history it's seen on this item. And then the red line out here is the history, or what it's forecasting into the future. Now, you can change some of these up as I did earlier. Let's see, I think the seasonal trend is the one that is utilized the most. So if I switch to a seasonal trend, actually you see it didn't change. But if I switch it down to, let's say, a constant, you can see what it's going to do there. And again, you can choose to do this on an item or all items or anything. Like, for instance, I changed this on one level, but I can actually put this back to inherent, go back to the all items tabs, and I can change it here to say I want all of them to be constant. And then you could go back and look at your individual items. Which item was I on there? I think it was that one. And you can see it there. You can change it that way and then come in and change the one item to a seasonal trend. This all works backwards up. MRP, Material Requirements Planning, is a strategic planning that you start at the top and push down, but here you're allowed to change things at the bottom and push it right back up to total into your grand total of sales per period that you want. So yes, you can actually change it in any way, shape, or form based on the 9 models that they provide. You can also choose to override it if you don't have the history, which we did not, to come in and do something that's more specific for you. Okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot for showing. Moving to the next question from Surasak. Can we add transactions daily to Streamline? If you're aware.
This all depends on, see, these people don't know me very well. I am extremely anal. Daily is sometimes not enough. You can do this a few times a day, and we do that because, you know, it's an ever-changing world, and if I'm paying someone to do purchasing over here and run my shop floor out there, the last thing I want him using is data that's yesterday's data or half a day old. So yes, you can actually update regularly. There's also arguments to be said that, you know, maybe I just want to do my purchasing once a week. Maybe it's a small company. Yes, you could update once a week and work in Streamline with that, with those numbers, get everything done, and then update to see how it looks. These are choices you can make.
Awesome. Then moving to the reporting. If you know, can you produce the report, the forecasting on a bigger scale? So you're importing daily, hourly transactions than forecasting weekly, and just suggest purchase orders bi-weekly, but summary data for CEO as monthly.
The buckets you can actually use are monthly, weekly, daily. So you can actually, I think if you wanted to, forecast on a daily level. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Lillian. But those will sum up so you can utilize the planning parameters. For instance, your lead time, which is 90 days or 7 days or whatever it is. But what's your order cycle? Because even if you're forecasting daily or weekly, you don't probably, if your lead time's from out of the country and you're bringing it in, you don't want to bring in shipments every day. I usually choose to use 14 days. So every time Streamline tells me I need to order, it's coming out and telling me what to order, which will cover me for 14 days. So that's a setting. If I, like right now, I'm going to take out the minimum order here quantity. So it's going to tell me I need to order Oh, I guess this is tied to, actually, I think I can update it. Yes, I need to order 6,137 parts. That's what will cover me in this scenario for this part with the forecasts that are driving this for 14 days. Well, I can very quickly come in here if I wanted to and say, I want to order for just 1 week. So what do I need just for 1 week? Well, 3,477. Okay, well, what if I wanted to go the other way and say, I'm tired of this. I want to order, for 60 days at a time. Well, then you need to order 20,953, which is a value of $25,772. All these settings are controlled by you and your environment, and it is very easy to manipulate. Like, let's say we decided to take all of these are all different vendors. Let's go back out here to this one vendor, and I'm going to change all of them to, we'll just say 30 days. So we'll just say 30. You'll see all these vendors, everything I've highlighted is now 30 days, and we'll go back to the, I think it's this screen, and the numbers of 30 days here, and it tells us what to order for 30 days. So it's a very flexible system. You might even have different purchasing agents that think differently. They might want to do things differently, and if the owner or the manager's okay with that, you can set the parameters up a little differently to how that person works better. So it's very, very flexible.
Thanks a lot. I will just add a quick note that on the reports tab, there is also annual, monthly, and quarterly buckets available for reporting to CEO if you wish. So we're moving to the next question.
Okay.
What is, based on your experience, the error probability? And I will also add on top of that, what is about mean average percentage error? Does it calculate it? Does it not? What does it do about it? Accuracy.
Okay, well, this is going to get it right into it. In the reporting area, you do have a forecast error, which is calculated based on the mean absolute percentage. First off, you have to be up and running, okay? You can't put a forecast out there and then show any, error ratios. But once you do put a forecast out there, let's just say we started using this in January, and now we're in, what are we in? We're in May. We're at the end of May. Well, technically, this would show me 5 months of my forecast error. And I can see it here, and you can use that to drive forecast changes. And you can export this, put it in Excel, you can manipulate it. If I'm 85% of my forecast, then I need to drop my forecast because I haven't met it. Or if I'm only only forecasting 20%, I need to up my forecast. You can make all of those decisions based on the information that comes out of these reports. I do not know why we're not here on this one, but this is an old data.
Yeah, and there is no, I think, the updatance in history. There is no dynamic to the project, but it is there, and indeed you can still check the actual VC forecast at any given time of period, but you have to use the Streamline at that time. That's why we can go back right now.
Correct.
So far, just a quick note. So the error probability. So Streamline does keep record of errors and show you this, right?
Oh, that was a question to me?
Yeah,
yes, it absolutely does. As you set a forecast and you go through period by period, Streamline will tell you your error on that period, what your sales were to what your forecast was, and allow you to take that and act on it. Yes.
That is the last question from our attendees. Maybe the last chance to send them in. I will ask you a quick question. What about communication with QuickBooks? How easy do you find it to place order through Streamline into QuickBooks?
There's two things I'll quickly mention on that. First off, it's as many times as you want to do it, you just basically come up here and you say update. There are two levels of update. There's a latest periods and there's a full re-import. Okay. Now, depending on what type of operation you're in, 9 times out of 10, update latest periods is great. If you do that daily, you're fine. A full re-import goes out and grabs everything. We're talking model numbers, bill of material changes. I mean, it gets all the nitty-gritty and it restructures the entire database. Because believe it or not, QuickBooks is a database and Streamline is a database. So when you do a full re-import, it updates everything. I have used, a couple handfuls of different tools. I'm sure if you're all out there utilizing QuickBooks and you're on that level of saying we got to go somewhere else, another ERP system, or add something to it, you've all done this. Interfacing with QuickBooks is very difficult. I've done, like I said, a couple of handfuls. This one here, I just reach up and push the button and it just processes. Now we have 2 years of history. We have several thousand items, and our bill of materials go 6 levels deep and sometimes have 100 items. Okay, I could do an update, take a 15-minute break, and it'll be finishing when I come back. So you do have to plan on that, but it does work. It is very quick, and the numbers are there immediately. Okay, what was this part 2 of that question?
It was actually all about it.
Okay.
How quickly you find the communication between Streamline and QuickBooks, and how quickly it is for you, how quickly you can place the order. Did you find it beneficial to place the orders through the Streamline, or you prefer input manually? So your experience of, I'm just trying to end the cycle, right? We started from importation, and now we are going back to QuickBooks where we started, so it can actually cover.
We tried many things prior to Streamline, and getting things out of QuickBooks. I mean, it's a strong point for QuickBooks. They do a lot of stuff in Excel. They pull a lot of stuff out into third-party applications. It's great. Putting stuff back is not so easy. I actually questioned when I was going through the software, what is that button, create orders and whatnot. I thought, I can type pretty fast. I can enter an order in Streamline pretty quick. I don't need that. But let me tell you, when you can literally hit a button and it'll create a purchase order for 14 vendors, 95 parts, and do it all in a couple minutes, and you just go in and modify them, or not modify them, but send them out, it is a really nice feature I've learned to like. And it's all driven by the minimums, the order multiples, the lead times, the cycle times. It all goes into those numbers, and you can edit it before you push it back to QuickBooks, and then it just goes and you send your POs out. It's actually very nice.
Great, thanks a lot. So I think that would be the end of questions and answers session. I didn't spot any further questions, so I think that's a wrap up. Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks Peter for such a useful and really handful presentation. It was nice hearing you, and the nice project. I absolutely love it. Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks for devoting your evening to us, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye.